Check one, check.
Before we get into this video, I invite you to take a deep breath with me. Not to fix anything, but just to be present. Throughout this series, we've asked some uncomfortable questions. Why do we save love for just special occasions? Why do dates carry so much emotional weight? Why does presence get postponed while meaning gets scheduled in? And underneath all of those questions, there's often a quieter fear. If I stop letting dates define meaning, if I loosen my grip on these structures, will I detach from life itself? Will I become indifferent, maybe disconnected, and less loving? So this final episode isn't about critique, it's about reassurance. Because detaching from dates is not the same thing as detaching from life. In fact, it's usually the opposite. Detachment, as we're talking about it here, isn't withdrawal, it isn't disengagement, and it isn't caring less. It's decentering. It's removing the calendar from the driver's seat and returning meaning to where it was always meant to live. In the body, in the moment, in the present. Dates live in your mind. They're concepts, markers, agreements that we share socially. Life, on the other hand, is experienced through sensation, through tone, through pace, and through attention. When dates begin to run our lives, we're living conceptually, thinking about what's coming next, remembering what's past, and measuring ourselves against timelines. Detaching from that doesn't make life smaller. It actually brings us back into it. This is where people often misunderstand detachment. They think it means stepping away, lowering investment, or becoming emotionally distant. But true detachment is not disengagement. It's presence without pressure. You can still celebrate birthdays, mark anniversaries, and you can still honor all of those traditions. They just stop being the source of meaning. Instead of saying, this day gives my life meaning, it becomes, meaning already exists. This day simply acknowledges it. That shift will change everything. Because when presence is alive on ordinary days, special days lose their weight. They become lighter, more genuine, and less performative. Another reason dates may hold so much power is because they give us permission. Permission to slow down, permission to express our love, and permission to say what really matters. But when permission comes from the calendar, we stop listening to the moment. Detachment happens when permission becomes internal. When you no longer ask, is this the right day? And instead ask, am I here right now? Presence doesn't need an occasion, it just needs attention. This is also where waiting quietly takes over our lives. We wait for the right time, the right mood, the right conditions. We assume we'll have more time later, that people will still be here, that moments can be revisited. And while we wait, life keeps moving on. Detaching from dates doesn't mean you stop planning. It means you stop postponing. You stop assuming that meaning belongs somewhere else in the future. You stop racing the clock while missing the moment you're in. Rushing is one of the most normalized forms of disconnection. We rush conversations, we rush meals, we rush through days as if life is something to get through instead of something to inhabit. Slowing down externally isn't always possible, but slowing down internally always is. That's where detachment really happens. Not by changing your schedule, but by changing your relationship to time. By finishing moments before moving on. And by allowing things to land. By staying a few seconds longer instead of immediately reaching for what's next. This keeps you engaged with life, not detached from it. Another important shift is how we measure a life well lived. Most of us are taught to measure by milestones, achievements, dates, events. But milestones are external. Connection is internal. At the end of the day, instead of asking, what did I accomplish? Try asking yourself, where did I feel present today? Where did I rush? Where did I really meet somebody, including myself? This changes how life feels, even if nothing on the calendar changes. And here's something important to name gently. Dates often protect us from facing impermanence. If love lives in ordinary moments, then every ordinary moment matters. That's confronting. Dates compress meaning into safe containers so we don't have to feel how fragile time really is. Detaching from dates doesn't mean you ignore impermanence. It means you honor it. By being here while things are still happening, by showing up before loss forces perspective. This isn't about urgency, it's about awareness. You don't detach from dates by rejecting them. You detach by no longer needing them to access meaning. You keep the rituals. You release the pressure. You celebrate, but you also show up on random Tuesdays. You honor, but you also listen on ordinary afternoons. You care, not louder, but more consistently. And this is the paradox. The more present you become, the less power dates have over you, and the more alive you will feel. Because you're no longer waiting for meaning to arrive. You're noticing as it happens. So the invitation at the end of this series isn't to abandon anything, it's to reorient, to let dates become expressions, not obligations, to let presence become the currency, not performance. To stop asking life for permission to matter, because we don't detach from dates by caring less. We detach by being here more. And that's not a loss. That's a return. Did you know that entire industries are built around telling us when to love and how to prove it? Valentine's Day is one of the loudest examples. Not because love is wrong, but because the messaging is wrong. And it's everywhere. Chocolates, flowers, diamonds, limited time offers. Buy this, book that, and do it now. Marketing doesn't just sell products, it sells urgency, comparison, timelines. And the more money we spend, the more we must care. Love becomes something you're expected to perform on cue. And if you don't perform it correctly or visibly enough, it's viewed as a failure. That pressure doesn't bring people closer together. It actually creates anxiety. So for people in relationships, it turns connection into obligation. And for people who are single, it can feel extremely isolating. When love is marked as something you're supposed to have by a certain date, being single can quietly feel like a public failure when it's not. The loneliness isn't romantic, it's social and very emotional. Life doesn't unfold in one timeline, and love doesn't arrive on demand. Presence doesn't create comparison, marketing does. Presence doesn't make people feel behind, but timelines do. And love in its real form doesn't arrive with a receipt. It should be lived, felt, and appreciated every day of the year, not just this one day. There's nothing wrong with you if your life doesn't match an ad. You're human, living in a culture that profits from telling you otherwise. If something in this episode landed with you, you don't need to do anything right now. Just notice what's already shifting within you, and let that be enough for today.